Hi, and welcome back to another segment of Veterans Did You Know? Today I'm speaking with Derik Van Baale, who is a mental health specialist, therapist. And we were talking about the issues. Derik deals with combat veterans from any era. It doesn't matter if it's World War II till today. If you were in any combat zone, any combat vet, and you're having some readjustment issues or some marital problems or whatever comes along with combat, this is the young man here that's going to help you get on the right track. And you know, it's kind of funny, Derik, I mentioned before about family members bringing them in, the spouse will bring them in, and mom will bring them in. And I always have said that, you know, you can drag a horse to water and you can stick your head in there and you can either blow bubbles, drink water, or drown. That's the options you got. But with a mental health issue, it's kind of like quitting, I think, quitting cigarette smoking or going to lose weight or stop drinking. And I'm doing it for my kids, or I'm doing it for my wife, or I'm doing it for my mom because she's mad at me, whatever else. That doesn't work. That really doesn't work. The veteran themselves have to realize things aren't clicking, there's something wrong, and they actually have to be the one to reach out. I mean, they may be nudged a little bit by parents, but they have to get to the point of saying, I'm the one that needs the adjustment here.
Yes.
I got to get fixed first before my family can get fixed. Is that where you think that's
that's pretty accurate? And what you'll see, family members, I'm going to talk to you for just a couple seconds here. More likely than not, you're going to see the counter behaviors of the veteran, whether it's increased drinking, the isolation, not doing things that he did or she did normally before the deployment. So naturally, you know, we want to try to help these folks, but one thing you have to understand is when it comes to dealing with the systemic issues of post-traumatic stress disorder and readjustment issues, nobody can change the veteran except the veteran. Not even myself as a therapist. You know, my job is not to change it. My job is to make them think, challenge what they think, and open up different avenues of approach, and they're going to take the one that's best for them. And sometimes as family members, it's hard, because you see Johnny or Susie or whoever going down that path where they're engaging in behaviors that are destructive to the family, and you know, you want to do everything in your power to help them, but sometimes until they get to that point where they want to help themselves, it's pretty painful for the family, but that's unfortunately part of this process in trying to help these veterans readjust to civilian life. So that's one of the issues that we deal with in our center quite a bit.
And I know I had a mom who's come in here, and she had two boys, both of them in Iraq, both traumatic brain injuries, both with PTSD. One came in on his own because his fiancée came with him and he wanted to address what it is, and the other would not come in, would admit to it. He said, I'm not screwed up, the rest of the world is now. You guys are looking at things different. And I tell some of my vets sometimes to come back that isolate themselves and not going out and finding a job or not working or just wanting to sit. And I said, yeah, you sit in the basement there and what do you do? Play video games. I said, let me see, what is it, a combat thing? Right? Yeah, that's all I do because that's the only place I feel normal. And it's really hard to get across with it. That's not normal. You know, as dull as Muskegon, Michigan is when you come home, this is what's normal. This is reality. This is life every day, how it goes on. In a war zone is not normal. That's abnormal behavior. That's abnormal conditions that you don't see that. So, but you've been immersed in that 24/7 for a year, and so when you got to go home, you got to actually detox yourself from that and think, okay, what is reality? And that's a hard thing as a combat to come back and say, what is reality? What am I looking at here?
Absolutely, and for some of them, it's, I call it, especially working with the Iraqi and Afghan vets, going through a midlife crisis in the mid-20s. When they're in the combat zone, they are a specialist or a sergeant. They're responsible for men and equipment. And in a combat zone, you have some sense of power. And when you come back to the civilian sector and you can't hold down a job making $8.50, $9 an hour, and you don't feel appreciated, you don't have a sense of purpose, the thoughts and the feelings start entering in like, I would be better off back there where I have a purpose, I have an identity, and that's where we see a big disconnect where, as you say, they sit in the basement and play video games because that's where they feel normal. They're having a hard time adjusting to what the new normal is. They come back and they don't have that identity, and a part of what we try to help them establish is, okay, you were this over in combat, so what are you going to do now that you're out of combat? What's your new identity going to look like? Because we're readjustment counselors for a reason. There's a readjustment process that happens not only for the family members, but also for the veteran when they come home. And we try to help facilitate that.
And that's an excellent point, because I know how many guys come back from the military, you can go off to just your basic training in your IT school and you're just in the military. You come back home and it takes you probably 30 minutes to find out what's happened while you were gone from Muskegon, Michigan. You know, somebody got divorced, somebody got married, somebody had a kid, somebody broke up, somebody, new restaurant opened up, and that's it. Then they start saying, well, geez, Derik, what have you been doing? You said, well, I was in Afghanistan and I was the head of a multi-million, billion-dollar planes and equipment and life and death decisions, and I had to put people on the line there, and I had to fight. They don't want to hear that stuff. They go, whoa, holy mackerel. And I know even when I retired from the military, and I got it, I came back, I would interview for jobs, and the guy across from me, I said, man, I've done more by accident than you're doing on purpose. I should be in your job. And it's frustrating. It's really frustrating, because the military gives you as much as you can handle and then some. They put so much authority, so much power in your hands. It's kind of an aphrodisiac. You can say, I'm a sergeant. I'm almost like king, and I can do this, and I'm tough, and that's the hard part when you come back from having all that power and having all that responsibility and coming back into quiet little community and thinking, oh, this isn't going to happen. I'm not challenged here anymore. I'm not challenging yours to barking out orders or life and death situations. You know, what you say or don't say, or how you move or don't move could get yourself killed or somebody else killed or badly hurt. And you come back here, and it's the biggest thing is just watching your child on a swing set, make sure that something happens to them. I think it's a letdown psychologically for yourself. You're thinking, oh, I'm way above this. This is it. This is normal. This is it. And I think that's really a hard thing to adjust to.
It is very difficult. It's almost like chasing the carrot, chasing that thing that you're never going to get back. A lot of men and women that I work with talk about that hole inside of them, that no matter how fast of a motorcycle they get, or how many drugs they take, or how much alcohol they drink, it never quite fills that hole they had with that extreme, intense adrenaline rush that comes with being in combat. And that can be a very self-defeating endeavor to engage in upon coming home. You're always trying to fill something that can't be filled. So instead of trying to fill it, we look at ways of finding something different to replace it. So that's one of the big challenges. And just to go off on that, you know, if you're watching this and you're wondering, okay, do I have PTSD? If I don't have PTSD, it's not a very sexy thing to talk about in the military world, especially for folks just coming back, because it goes against the culture. But I'll just throw out 3 questions. Do you get angry when you drive? Do you have a hard time sleeping at night? And do you have a hard time playing well and getting along well with others? If you answered no, or had a hard time with those questions, it might behoove you to come in and see us and get some more information.
Because PTSD is insidious. It sits there and it percolates, and it percolates, and it percolates, and pretty soon you find your basic persona being changed of who you were. Then pretty soon you think, I don't know who I am anymore. And I don't know how many kids of Vietnam vets that the dads went and got therapy, came in and were treated, and understood what they had, and was trying to find that new path that was going to lead them. The kids would come in and say, who are adults now, gee, now I finally understand why Dad was the way he was all the while we were growing up. I mean, what would send him off in a tirade for no reason, or he'd get a job and just get working there and we'd feel secure, and then some clerk or some boss would take him off and he'd just walk away from it, or he'd do something stupid, and it is that adrenaline high. I think it's like crack cocaine. They say once you do crack, sometimes you're hooked. And I think anybody who's been in that extreme life or death, this is it. I mean, this is life or death right here. And you get out of it, you're just like, whew. I mean, you say there's such a tremendous high of your body that you say, gee, that was, I'm out of it. That was kind of a cool rush. At least you look at it. And you see a lot of vets come back and they buy motorcycles and they get fast cars. They want that adrenaline high. That's not a reality out here. That's not going to get outside of getting yourself jammed up. And we get a lot of guys through the court systems. The judges here are vets, a couple of them are vets, and they see these guys come in and they don't want to slam them because you did something stupid, but you did it for a reason. It was because you were searching for that hole. You're trying to plug that hole up and find that rush, and you did something dumb. And there is a line in the sand where you can forgive some of it maybe, But there's this point where you step over it, and you're going to pay a heavy price for that. And it's so heart-wrenching is to see a young kid come back who've served their country, fought for their country, and with valor and saved folks and did all these cool things, and just have them come back and see them dissolve to being in jail or being homeless on the street. Veterans make up about 7% of the population, and we make up over 25% of the homeless population. And that's the hard thing. People say, how do you go from being a combat vet, I mean, and all that stuff, and coming back and then living in the street? How does that happen to you? And I think part of that is that I never got the readjustment. I never got to talk to somebody and what's normal and what's not. I don't know. And, you know, like you said, you got Vietnam vets coming and still don't know what's normal is.
Absolutely.
For 35 years, I've been trying to figure out what was normal. So.
We try to find out what the new normal is. And one more point to make, along with the trying to fill the hole, is also processing the grief and loss. In a normal society, if you have a friend or family member who passes away, you get to go to the visitation, you get to go to the funeral, and you have time to process your thoughts and feelings. Well, in a combat zone, Dave and I could be sitting right here, Dave could be shot and killed, and 20, 30 seconds later, a couple minutes later, he's gone. I may never ever see him again. And to have that extreme trauma and not be able to process that, because you got to keep going. It's not like a video game where you can press pause and take a timeout and process what's going on. You got to keep the fight going. And so a lot of times they just push it down, push it away, and never process that grief and loss. And then it spills over when they come home, and now they're home, and all of a sudden all these emotions come out from the woodwork and they don't know what to do with them. So that would be another huge issue that we help address in the readjustment counseling process.
Yeah, it's pretty important. It's pretty, and not to be depressing, and it's tough because, but there's just so many statistics out there that say this is a road. We know what the roadmap is. We've seen it. This is where you're going to go. This is what you're headed for, and here's what the end result is probably going to be for you. You can do that, or someplace along the road you can put the brakes on and say, okay, let me save myself. Let me get a handle on this and what we can do. We take another quick break. We'll be back in a few minutes. I hope you stay with us. Thanks a lot.